Welcome to The Code, your guide to health and human performance. I'm your host, Dr. Andrew Fix from Physio Room, a performance-based rehab facility here in Denver. On this podcast, we're going to explore the key areas of your life that impact your overall health and wellness, from sleep hygiene and stress management to nutrition, movement, relationships, and more. We bring you conversations with industry experts and top performers to share strategies they have for cracking the code on health and human performance. Now let's get to today's show. All right. So, Steven, we didn't say this at the beginning of the episode, but I think everybody who probably is listening to this, if they've met me, they know that I wear Xero Shoes, Vivo Barefoots, any of these minimalist style brands that are like the ones that you and I are talking about. But if you were to talk to somebody who might be listening to this, or maybe that you meet in the community, and they don't know anything about Xero Shoes, how do you usually explain to them, what is Xero Shoes? Like, what type of shoes do you make? What are your shoes like? Since we were talking about, if you have people try these on, they're like changing people's lives in the way that they feel on their feet, the way that they feel while wearing them, like how the person feels and how they feel like they function. So how do you usually explain what Xero Shoes are to people?
Yeah, I don't.
Just say, here, try these on.
Well, if I could, I would do that.
Yeah.
But what I often do is I ask them a question that makes them go, huh, and get kind of hip to the idea of what we're doing first. So I ask questions like, do your feet feel better at the end of the day than they do at the beginning of the day? And invariably people say no. I go, look, it's not your fault. And it's not because of what big shoe has told you. It's not because you pronate or supinate or high arches or low arches or flat feet or whatever it is. It's really just because you've been wearing the wrong shoes. And I know this because we make footwear so comfortable and so lightweight. We've literally had people who said they not only forgot to take them off at the end of the day, but went to bed still wearing them because they forgot they had them on. And so that's, like an intro just to get them curious enough to want to try something.
Yeah, like
or
that.
I'll ask a question, or I'll say something like, here's an easy one. I point down to their foot, and their shoes usually are shaped like this. And I go, is that the shape of your foot when you take the shoe off? And they go, no. I go, then why are you shoving your foot into something that isn't shaped like your foot? Don't you think that would be uncomfortable? And they go, well, yeah. I go, well, why don't you do that? Or I ask questions like, have you ever seen babies' feet? And they go, yeah. I go, have you ever watched a baby learn to walk? And they go, yeah. I go, can you see how they're like working the problem and trying to figure out how to feel things and how to adjust their body and move properly and play with the balance? I mean, would you ever think about taking a baby and when it's learning how to walk and putting something under its foot that elevates its heel and messes with its posture? They go, no. I go, what about stiff enough so they couldn't bend their feet and use their toes? No. What about thick enough so they couldn't feel the ground, wouldn't have that feedback? They go, no. I go, what about squeezing their toes together? They go, no. I go, well, then why are you doing all those things to you if you would never do it to a baby?
Yeah, I like that.
It's all because if I just say, hey, these are really comfortable and they're great, people will just come up with some argument for why they're a special little snowflake that can't do what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just patently not true. And I say that because we have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of customers ages 5 to 95 who wear our shoes for pretty much everything you can imagine, from a stroll on the beach to climbing Kilimanjaro to running ultra marathons to a night on the town.
Yeah.
So first it's just getting people to question something about what they've been doing without thinking about it because they had no options. And then we start talking about why we do what we do and the value. And to that point, I go, look, a quarter of the bones and joints are in your feet. A quarter of the bones and joints of your whole body are in your feet and ankles. Joints are made to move. So if you don't let a joint move, what happens? Like if you put a cast in your arm, what happens? They go, well, it gets weaker. I go, same thing with your feet. If you don't let your feet move, you have more nerve endings, like I said before, in your soles than anywhere at your fingertips and your lips. So that's to give your brain feedback. What happens if your brain can't feel something? And they go, oh, well, then you can't function properly. I go, right. So it's just pointing out the obvious. Or my favorite thing to do, I have an arch made out of wooden blocks. Yeah. And they say they need arch support. I go, an arch is the most stable structure ever come up with. And you have 3 of them actually in your foot.
Right.
And what makes an arch stronger is putting pressure on it. What makes it weaker is supporting it from the bottom. And then there's research that shows if you put arch support in the shoes of healthy athletes, they lose up to 17% of the muscle mass in their feet in as little as 12 weeks. Mm-hmm. When is weaker better than stronger? Never.
I don't know a time.
So these are the kind of things that I do just to engage in the conversation. In fact, I can have that whole conversation without even talking about what we do.
Right.
Just talking about what's wrong with what people have been doing.
Sure.
And what their experience is like. I remember being a kid, going out on a warm summer day and you kick off your shoes and you run around feeling the grass between your toes or the sand under your feet or the water around your ankles, depending on where you are. And you would like play until it was so dark you couldn't see your hand in front of your face, let alone the ball you're trying to kick or trying to hit.
Yeah.
Parents have to drag you home. I mean, why don't you have that experience now? There's no reason
Right.
you can't have that experience now. That's what we're all about.
Yep. Yeah, no, and I love that. And I think that's like a great summary too of literally anything. If you're trying to help somebody, potentially make a change that's going to benefit them, right? It's not about you convincing them. It's about them making the decision for themselves. And by you asking those types of questions, that's exactly what that allows, is it allows them to think and reflect and question why they've been making the decisions that they've been making and wonder, or imagine, like, is there a different way? Is there a better way that I could be going about this?
Is there a way I used to do it that I remember, that I enjoyed, that I gave up because some salesperson told me that I was wrong?
Right. And I think that's an important part to remember, kind of as like a summary to this episode of like, this is what we all did when we were infants before we put shoes on our feet and then bought different shoes. And like you said before, this is much, much, much less the actual intervention. This is the normal way of doing things. This is the typical way it was done until, years ago, we started moving towards this maximalist, cushioned, narrow style footwear that alters our foot. And that's more the like intervention in this case. Yeah.
I also like to say, for the fun of it, if you want to go somewhere where they don't have podiatrists who make a living, go to any place where they don't have indoor plumbing. And because if they don't have indoor plumbing, they probably don't have, quote, good footwear. And there's a guy back in the 60s, I believe, he went to Kenya and studied the Kenyan army. And these were people who grew up in bare feet, and then they get to the army and they're put in boots. And while that was problematic, they still had such a sort of a baseline of foot health. The podiatrist, his report back to his superiors was, a podiatrist will go broke in this country. And so there are lots of places in the world where they still want to hear somewhere where they still basically understand the principle of natural movement. Europe, because there's brands there like Birkenstock that have been around for 250 years doing something similar, still a little thicker and stiffer at first than what we do, but the basic idea of flat, wide toe box, et cetera, that's similar. Another place, like, we're having interesting conversations in China where I say to people, why are you listening to these big footwear brands that are telling you, you need to put your shoe or your foot in a shoe that doesn't let it move or bend and flex and feel? You guys have what they call foot washing. It's like reflexology massage places everywhere. I mean, in Hong Kong, you can't go a block without finding a reflexology foot massage place. You guys have known the importance of foot health for thousands of years. Why are you listening to these Western companies telling you you're wrong? And they go, yeah, but in Chinese.
That's funny. Well, while we're on the topic of, different parts of the world, different parts of the country, all this stuff, for those of you or for those people that don't know, where is Xero Shoes based out of? And, if someone were wanting to like try out your shoes, do you guys only sell online? Are there any shoes that are sold in stores? Where can people like find you guys?
We are in Colorado, between Boulder and Denver, in a town called Broomfield. And we are in about 500 stores around the world. If you go to xeroshoes.com, and that's Xero Shoes, although if you accidentally type in Zero, it'll still get to us. And look in the upper right, there's a store locator, and you can see if there's anywhere near you. We have some of our products in all REI stores in America, and in a bunch of other places. And we're picking up new stores literally almost every day. So that's expanding. And we sell direct online from our website and on Amazon and Zappos and gear.com and many other places. So you can find us in a bunch of places more every day. If you're in Texas, Whole Earth Provision Company, I can't remember them all. If you're in Shepherdstown, West Virginia, Two River Treads. If you're in Georgia, oh God, what's it called? New Soul Running. So there's a bunch of places around, and more all the time.
Yeah, that's awesome. So the next time you guys are out there looking for shoes, be on the lookout for some Xeros. And if you've not tried them on, put them on your feet and see what you think about them. While we're on that topic, Steven, again, thank you so much for your time on this episode of The Code. If someone wants to, find you guys in other ways, on the internet or anything like that, social media, get a hold of you guys, any questions, anything like that, where's the best place for people to reach you guys?
Any of those places that you mentioned. So you can find us again at Xero Shoes, plural.com, or pretty much at Xero Shoes or /Xero Shoes, wherever you happen to @ or /.
Awesome. Awesome. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think that was maybe where I first connected with you guys, was through Instagram. So I could vouch for, they are very responsive. Just like the shoes allow your foot to be very responsive. So
Nice.
yeah, you like that? That's how we're going to end this episode, on the code. All of you guys that tuned in to listen to this, thank you so much. Steven, thank you so much for your time and being here. We really, really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Looking forward to what's next.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.